Hello, I'm Jose Candelario here with the NBA recap from this weekend. First off, let's start with the play-in. The teams that went home on Friday night, everybody already know. The Atlanta Hawks lost to the Miami Heat Friday night, 123-114. Of course, Tyler Herro paved the way for the Miami Heat over the Hawks. But now the Hawks have to contemplate what they're going to do on this offseason, right? The offseason is coming up and about. And so now the Hawks have to decide, are they going to continue to build around Trae Young, which is a good idea because Trae Young has still got a lot of years ahead of him, but he was also kicked out yet again. He was show frustration and was disqualified with two fouls or technical fouls late in the game, was kicked out and ejected from that game. So the Atlanta Hawks got a lot to think about as they enter the offseason. Also Friday night, the other game that took place was the Memphis Grizzlies and the Mavericks. They took on the Mavericks took on the Memphis Grizzlies. Dallas, after a huge debacle on behalf of Miko, who traded away Luka Doncic late in the season and, panning on defense. But the Dallas Mavericks did not have enough guards to run the position to help lead the team with no Kyrie Irving, depending solely on Anthony Davis, who looked injured and injury riddled with lower back pains, knee problems. I mean, by the end of the game, Dallas did not look good at all, and Anthony Davis was a bum yet again. Good luck to Anthony Davis and the Dallas Mavericks. I just don't see them doing anything in the next couple of years unless Kyrie Irving comes back healthy and can lead the team from that guard position, because you can't have point forwards in this time of year. So good luck to the Mavericks already in Cancun, having a good time. Saturday at 1 o'clock already, the games that took place was the Indiana Pacers over the Milwaukee Bucks. Let me tell you, the Greek freak by himself cannot do it. And it proved yet again, because the Indiana Pacers are just too deep. Indiana has too many players coming off the bench with Matthias and all these other guys. They were tremendous, and they could beat Milwaukee. Milwaukee with just Giannis is unbeatable, but we'll see, because now Damian Lillard is scheduled to come back. So is Bobby Portis Jr., but they're missing a lot of games. This could go to 6 to 7 games, but I see Indiana winning this in the long run, because there's not enough time for Lillard to get back into playing shape, although he's off the blood thinners and thrombosis. That game had Tyrese Haliburton with 24 points, 12 assists, leading the Pacers. Of course, the supporting cast there is amazing. Miles Turner, you name it. That bench, that team is deep. The Bucks got nothing. Nothing on Indiana in the long run. Those guys are going to get tired up. 7 games or 6 games at the most. Good luck to the Bucks. Then that second game on Saturday was the Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. Now, Jokić recorded a triple-double with 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists, edging out the Clippers in a close contest. This game went into overtime. The Nuggets, again, have this problem with bench depth. They're not really quite there, but they were able to edge out the Clippers just so slightly. Clippers play tremendous. Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are a tremendous 1-2 punch, and the defense is there. Zubac is a bona fide big man in the NBA, but the problem is that there's just no answer to Jokić. Jokić can tear apart an offense, and what I saw in that game was Jokić really leading the offense and coaching the team to success, telling them what they needed to do. It took all 4 quarters and then some to end the game, but at the end it took place. Jamal Murray needs to step up a lot more. Aaron Gordon did step up, hit a couple of threes. His defense was there, but the Nuggets need a lot more scoring, especially off the bench, which they do not have. So in the long run, the Clips might take it, but right now what you're seeing, really seeing, is the Denver Nuggets experience in the playoffs, dominating the Clippers. We'll see if that continues as they go into game 2 with them. Now, the Knicks and Detroit Pistons, what can you say about that? The New York Knicks were amazing. This was a little game early on with the Knicks, with the Detroit Pistons. Detroit Pistons, Durant and company, especially Cunningham, they were strong early on. This is a very young team with a lot of energy. They came out of the gates challenging the Knicks for a couple of quarters. In the first half, it was really, a team effort, trying to keep the team together, and it came between Cat Williams and OG Anunoby. They were all scoring, but late in the game, you saw that the Knicks captain, Jalen Brunson, went to the locker room a couple of times trying to look at after an ankle injury, but the Knicks held it together, played tremendous defense. Defense did turn up a notch. They went on a 21-0 run later in the third quarter to really solidify the lead. By the time Jalen Brunson came back in the fourth quarter, it was shutdown time. He hit a couple of points in a row and dominated the Knicks over Detroit Pistons. What you really saw there was 2 years experience getting into the second round by the Knicks versus a very young but promising future for the Detroit Pistons. I don't see this series going more than 5 games because of just how good the Knicks are playing. They might give one away to Detroit just to come home and win a gentleman's sweep, as they call it, for 5 games. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the Knicks can bring coming up tonight, later on tonight. I think the Knicks got it over there in MSG. They have a lot of energy there. Good luck to them. Now, the late game, there was going Minnesota Timberwolves and the Lakers late Saturday night. Anthony Edwards did explode for 35 points, taking the Timberwolves to a convincing win against the Lakers. This is another game where I see that there's experience versus lack of depth in this situation. Again, Minnesota has a lot of bench players, role players. Naz Reid was out there hitting threes. I mean, he could not miss. Then you got Dante DiVincenzo playing well, playing a lot of defense, giving some rest for Anthony Edwards to come in and be very effective during the game because he's getting some rest because that bench is actually producing. Versus the LA Lakers, the LA Lakers, anytime that Jokić or LeBron sit down or both sit down, the offense becomes stagnant and almost translucent, and you don't even see him out there. Austin Reeves is a good offensive player, but he needs to be set up, and he's a spot-up shooter. Can create on his own, but if he's the only guy out there, trust me, they'll clamp down. And let me tell you, the Minnesota Timberwolves defense is as advertised, and you saw that in that game. LeBron didn't score his points until later in the game. Took him a while to get going. Some time off, I guess, for the more rusty bones for LeBron, but I just don't see them doing it like that. The Lakers just don't have enough depth. They only got 3 guys coming off the bench, and all 3 of them are just good defensive players, good defensive role players, but not a scoring threat that the Los Angeles Lakers need when either Doncic or LeBron's on the bench. You still don't have a real true second option outside of Austin Reeves. So that leaves them really playing, 2-on-5 when it comes to offense. And they were just slim pickings. This series won't go long. I think 5 to 6 games at the most. I know there's a lot of Lakers fans, and it's good for the NBA to have the Lakers out there and people talking about them in this time of year, because without Luka on that team, we would not be talking about the Lakers in the playoffs. But Minnesota, just too strong, just too young, too big. Go Bear. You name it. McDaniels hitting threes. Naz Reeves coming out there. And of course, Ant-Man himself doing it big for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I see them taking it in 5 to 6 games, depending on what happens next. Oklahoma City Thunder and the Memphis Grizzlies, we're not even going to talk about that. We talked about Ja Morant all season, and you heard it 1,000 times with all his celebrations and guns and all this. But let me tell you, the Grizzlies did not show up to game 1 versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder came in and this is really inexperience versus an inexperienced team that's really getting used to playing a very new offense. The Memphis Grizzlies, up until this point during the season, before they fired their head coach, was playing this screen away from the ball type of basketball. They were not doing any pick and rolls and pick and pops, which didn't come around till later in the season because the coach really didn't have any confidence in Zach Edey and able to roll and become a real threat, to actually take the second defender off of Ja Morant when he gets the pick. But now they're doing the pick and rolls more often, which is leading to a little bit of offense, but not really. Oklahoma City Thunder just looked way better. They had the home crowd. They came out strong. This game was not a must-see at all. OKC and Grizz will go for 4. Okay, I can see Kansas City moving on. Chet Holmgren with a couple of beautiful blocks in that game. OKC in 4, forget about it. Then we had the Boston Celtics versus the Orlando Magic. That game was 103-86 was the final. Derek White, scored 30 points. man, including 7 3-pointers. This team is so difficult to defend. Orlando Magic is a decent defending team. Offensively, lots of issues we saw in this game. Number one, there's only one offensive player on the Orlando Magic that showed up, and that was Paolo Banchero. This guy is amazing. He's got a future in the NBA, but Mr. Wagner has to step up. They need a 1-2 punch, especially with Paul hits the bench. You know what I'm saying? Banchero got to go sit down and rest. Wagner has to step up and start taking some shots. He missed some floaters. He missed some chippies, some bunnies. He missed a couple of jump shots. Wagner needs to step up in order for this team to play. And you know what? This is also an inexperienced team. So Carl Anthony and Anthony Black need to step up and hit those threes like they did in that last game before. The bench needs to show up for Orlando. Their bench scoring was horrible, but that's expected from a team going on the road for the first time, and especially going up the machine known as the Boston Celtics. You never know who's letting up the scoreboard. There was Derek White for this game. It could be Porzingis in the next game. It could be your Sixth Man of the Year, Pritchard. I mean, it could just be anybody for Boston Celtics game to game. Orlando can play them tough, wear them down, but I see the Celtics doing this and no more than 4, maybe 5 if Orlando can pull it off ever so slightly. With that said, we went to the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat is another team that can't seem to get it going. Not a lot of offensive prowess. Now, Bam Adebayo, although he is a good offensive weapon, just can't cut it and carry the team with Tyler Herro's on the bench. He did do a good job, but let me tell you, Donovan Mitchell is there. Man, he was playing very hard. You cannot tell that that's the oldest man on that Cleveland team right now, especially with that starting 5. Jared Allen's looking great. Eric Mobley's looking good. Garland was hitting his threes. I mean, there's just offense. The starting 5 is just hard to D. With Matt Strus out there also hitting threes. I mean, I don't see the Cleveland Cavaliers losing a game to the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat can come out there. I mean, they got to play top-notch defense. Everything needs to go right for the Heat in order for them to beat the Cavaliers in one game. That's the difference. The Cavaliers doesn't need to be perfect to win a game, but the Miami Heat have to be perfect in all assets of the game. Turnovers, three-point shooting has to be there. Herro has to show up. Bam has to show up. Somebody has to support them like they did in the last game, which was Devion Mitchell, who stepped up the last game for them. But somebody else from the bench has to step in order for Miami to even win one game against the Cavaliers. So another gentleman's sweep that I think is going to take place when it comes down to the Cavaliers. Now, last night's late game was the Golden State Warriors against the Houston Rockets. This is another experienced versus inexperienced team. I don't think the Rockets are going to, roll over that easy. It might take them a little bit. This is a very young, inexperienced team that really did cruise on their youth throughout the thing, but they also didn't meet playoff Jimmy. Even though Jimmy Butler's 25 points was there, they help him propel. The thing is with Jimmy Butler being on this team is that he can lead that offense whenever Stephen Curry is not on the floor, leaving Curry to really sit really long minutes during playoff games. And that was the case in the play-in game that they had. You saw Stephen sit almost 8 minutes straight during that series when Jimmy Butler took over. This is the same situation that you got right now. So I see the Warriors doing very well, especially with Stephen Curry, with his ability to come out in the fourth quarter and just be launching threes from wherever he wants. I mean, it's almost ridiculous that this man at this age can shoot the three with 2 or 3 defenders on him, which is what's happening. It's just like double or triple team now on Curry, but it doesn't seem to matter. He finds his space, the quickest release in the game. You already know he's the GOAT. I see the Warriors actually beating the Houston Rockets. This is going to be one of the official upsets, which was one of the only upsets all weekend. Most of the favorite teams won, except I think the Nuggets, but in the Western Conference, it's so close between number 2 and number 10. There were only 2 or 3 games separating every single team because everyone after their trade deadlines became very well. There were some coaching changes, so those teams have definitely changed the way they played and had got on their winning ways since then. But when it comes to the Golden State Warriors, they're just too offensively to put together. They got defense when they need it out there with Looney and Moody and all the supporting cast on the bench. When they come out on the floor, you see a very good team. What you don't see is Jonathan Kuminga. I don't think you're going to see him at all during the playoffs. I think Kuminga's time in Golden State is done. Jimmy Buckets has taken over that role and was not going to relinquish it, because you cannot have Kuminga and Butler on the floor at the same time. And with Butler, I think that it really comes down to basketball IQ. In order for Butler to be efficient on the basketball court, he needs to have high IQ players around him that can move the ball, move without the ball, and be able to receive a pass, as Jimmy is often known to do now, especially in this. He will give up the pass before the shot. But I see the Golden State Warriors moving on from this series at the most 6 games, if you know, because the Rockets are young, they play great defense, they got a good solid core. I don't expect them to score 85 points again. That's a very low score, 95, 85. I see the Rockets winning at least 1 or 2 games, especially going back to Houston, or in Houston, which is the game 2. They're really going to turn up the defense and try to shut down the Warriors. But if the Warriors pull off game 2, forget about it. It's the Warriors in 4. I don't see the Rockets coming back and dealing with this. Good luck to the Rockets in the offseason trying to pick up KD. With that said, that is the playoff recap. We got the New York Knicks tonight. Go Knicks. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow and I'll give you a recap of those games. Thank you very much. This is the Jose Candelario Show. Thank you for joining me. You already know what it is. This is the NBA recap from the weekend. First weekend of NBA basketball was wonderful. I don't want to hear about no ratings, because the games were really, really good. No, not really. Not if you're the Grizzlies. You don't even have to watch another Grizzlies game for the rest of the season. With that said, I'm Jose Candelario, and I will see you next time.